This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell, and joining me today in the studio are the Toledo Symphony's music director, Alain Trudel, the president and CEO of the symphony, Zach Vassar, also principal second violin, and artistic administrator, Merwin Sue. And we have a very special guest on the phone with us. I've got a little fanfare for you. Put your hands together for the wonderful pianist and it just never ends, doesn't it? The wonderful pianist and composer Stewart Goodyear. Hello, Stewart.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for that fanfare.
Yeah, I cut it a little short, but
it was a deceptive cadence.
Yes, exactly. So Stewart is coming to the Paris Style. It's happening Saturday, January 14th at 8 o'clock p.m. Alain Trudel is conducting. We're going to hear Stewart's own music, a piece called Callaloo. Have I said that correctly, Stewart?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, Callaloo. Also music of John Adams and Sergei Rachmaninoff, and we can save that for later. But first, we're going to hear Stewart's story. This is something that we do with guests that come on to the program for the first time, sometimes the second or even the third time. We ask them to tell their story, and I pick a little music that I think is appropriate. So you can tell us, just about yourself. It's a little getting to know you session. Let me pull up some music for you. There.
All right.
Nice, lovely music.
Yes. I was born and raised in Toronto, and my background is half Trinidadian, half British. Wow. So I came from a very eclectic musical background. Classical music chose me, as well as rock and roll and calypso music. I did not know my father. He died a month before I was born of cancer, but I knew him musically because he left a legacy of LPs ranging from Joe Cocker, Santana, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Who, Ravi Shankar, and my early memories of childhood included summer visits to my mother's hometown in Trinidad, and that's how I got introduced to calypso. So all of these different musics were a part of my life, and calypso I felt so strongly. I just loved that music from the get-go, and I always wanted to compose a work for piano and orchestra that was that paid homage to Trinidad, and that was calypso inspired, and that's how Callaloo came to be. This was a project that I wanted to do since I was 14, and there were just a lot of false starts. I would start and then think to myself, you know what, that's not quite right. It just didn't feel, there was a missing ingredient, and of course that missing ingredient was just going back. And I went to Trinidad, I think just two years before I started writing Callaloo that we will hear on the 14th of January. And it was right in time for Carnival. So I got to... Carnival is like a festival/competition in Trinidad. It's around 2 weeks long, and it just celebrates the history of Trinidad. The dances from the 15th and 16th century, and there's African, French, Spanish elements and influences for a lot of the music and a lot of the dances. And one would hear that in the fourth piano solo movement of the suite. Panorama is usually a medley of the top 5 calypso hits of the year. So there would be steel drum bands who would compete for the first prize, and what the band leader had to do was come up with a very convincing medley of the 5 hits and come up with something that was just insanely danceable, that just got people listening with their hips, and it had to be, it just had to rock. and usually usually that competition is rigged because the winners of that category usually are the last ones to play, and by that time, a lot of the jury members are completely sloshed, and so right now,
Good trick.
they just end up dancing like, oh, I just want to party, So there's like the all-star band, which are they're a fantastic group, but they always perform last. They always win.
Ah.
So that always
Good to know.
that always tickles me. Mento. That is the calypso that us North Americans know through Harry Belafonte. A lot of the calypso songs that he made famous in North America, for example, his calypso album of 1956, used a lot of mento, a lot of mid-tempo calypso. And then the ballad, which I'm thinking I will rename to Afterglow for reasons that will be very, very clear as soon as one listens to it. Just imagine someone on a hammock overlooking water. The sun sets, pelicans are out, and it's this very, very serene, very still work. Panorama, my panorama, the first movement, I come up with my own 5 hits, all original themes, but at the same time, it's written in a style that they say, oh yes, I know where that melody got its influence from, and it ends in a rollicking soca. Soca is short for soul calypso, and in the Carnival in Trinidad, that is the last category of the festival. It's usually held in a stadium that seats or fits around maybe 15,000 people, and there are 8 finalists, and each finalist has 8 minutes to just make the crowd go wild. And the crowd, they're very discerning. They're wild, but they remember acts like it was yesterday. So if there was a winner the year previous who came up with the same old tricks like put your hands in the air, the audience would not do a thing. Like, come on, you did that last year. You got to come up with something original. So it really tries the performer. They have to come up with something that is very authentic, at the same time wild, filled with energy, very musical, and then the crowd goes wild, and the wildest response gets the prize. So it's a very, very democratic competition. And I was so inspired by that, as well as by how wild the audience responded. So I thought, you know what, that is going to be the grand finale for my suite of Callaloo. So this is probably the wildest piece I ever wrote, and it is guaranteed. And my hope when I perform this piece is that audiences don't go bravo, audiences scream.
Ooh. Excellent. So everybody who's hearing this has a heads up.
Yep, exactly.
I'm still on a hammock back in the Caribbean right now, sipping my frou-frou drink. And
I'm still listening with my hips.
Well, it's true, though, because when you listen to this piece, and I've heard bits and pieces of it, you want to dance when you hear it. I mean, there's so much rhythm and so much vitality. Let me ask you, Stewart, let's rewind a little bit, because you appeared here as a pianist for many different appearances. Let's talk about some of your prior appearances in Toledo. Folks will remember the Beethoven that you did. I think that was pre-pandemic.
2 Beethovens.
Yeah.
Emperor, I want to say in maybe 2018, and then a Beethoven 4 with no audience during the pandemic.
Oh, right. Yeah. Was that a common thing for you during the pandemic to play without an audience? I mean, that must have been strange.
That season was filled with virtual performances. So, it was just a very different energy. But, I felt fortunate that I had a chance to make music and to make music with, with my peers. And it was just wonderful. I'm working with the Toledo Symphony again. And any capacity. So, it was great to play Beethoven Fourth with the musicians, and William Adams was on the podium.
Oh yeah.
And yes, the Emperor Concerto was a wonderful memory as well. Every memory in Toledo has been fond. Performing both Shostakovich Concerti, and I think my first performance in Toledo was back when I was 20 or 21, performing Gershwin's Concerto in F, and the peristyle and the audience of Toledo. They're just. That's also, it feels like a dance partner as well. I always feel like I'm making music organically, and the audiences are very warm, and it's just a great pleasure to come back every time.
Yeah, and it's okay if they applaud between movements, is that right?
Oh, yeah, especially in Kalamazoo.
And get up and throw their hands in the air and all that stuff.
Yes.
Et cetera, et
Only
cetera.
if they didn't do it
I'm
last
thinking
year.
about my trendy audience. I can't tell them that.
I think you just did.
You're telling them right now.
I'll tell them that, hopefully with my music, that they'll be inspired to do so.
Yeah, well, we can lead the charge. You put a few plants in the audience, and they raise their hand in the air, and everybody else will follow.
There we go.
Stewart, I just want to go back, if I can, to your Beethoven 4. I remember very clearly watching that broadcast in my living room with my in-laws who were visiting us. And after the second movement, which is one of my favorite Beethoven moments, period, I just remember we all let out this kind of sigh. And it was so spellbinding, because that's what you do in a concert hall. But watching your performance at that point in my family room, just had a... You all right there, Elaine?
Elaine hit the microphone.
Did you fall asleep?
It works. It works.
The hammock was working.
Exactly.
Elaine is on a hammock somewhere listening to calypso steel drums pounding in his head. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? You were
nothing
sighing and falling.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll try to get back to the
much.
moment. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it was a very special performance at a very special time. And I just remember my father-in-law saying, I feel so lucky that at this very dark moment in our world that you are still making such beautiful moments happen. And I just remember how affected we all were at the end of that second movement. So I want to send you special thanks for that special gift at a very odd time, because I will take that with me for a long time.
Yeah. And I just wanted to ask you, Stewart, because you have this kind of dual interest, you're a pianist, you write for the piano, but you also write for the orchestra. And how did you start composing? What's the story behind that and your interest in that area? Let me get some... I'm kidding. Go ahead.
No, all the piano idols I looked up to were composer pianists. So, and when I was studying works as a piano student, with, Beethoven, Mozart, all of those guys, they were all composer pianists. And I just loved that fact that they were writing, vehicles for themselves, compositions for other people, and I just wanted to be part of that tradition. And I was always inspired to compose. I always heard music in my head, and then I began to write in earnest since I was 8 years old. I attended a choir school in Toronto, and the first works I wrote were motets for the choir to sing. But I loved the sound of the orchestra. Most of the LPs that I collected were orchestral and, with symphonies, ballets, and, just that sound world. I wanted to know how to create that sound world. And I was learning orchestration as well as studying piano and just trying to devour as much information as I could and just get myself better and better at writing.
Yeah, who's a big fan of your writing is Jennifer Higdon. I had a conversation with her.
Oh, my goodness.
Your name came up, and she shared some of your music with me, which I thought was wonderful.
Thank you. Well, she is a huge mentor to me.
Yeah. Merwin, you want to jump into the discussion here?
Yeah, I actually had a interesting question about Callaloo, I think. It always fascinates me when, composers put this extraordinarily kind of the structurally integral cadenza in their music. And the cadenza for Callaloo really fascinates me. I know you love to improvise. How did you improvise the cadenza initially and then just write it down? Does the cadenza change from performance to performance, or?
No, it doesn't change. It doesn't change. It was when I was writing it a lot, especially the cadenza that acts as a bridge to the fourth and fifth movements of the suite. That was a lot of the harmonies were done through improvisation, and I just thought, all right, this is it. I feel strongly about those harmonies, and then it became a structured cadenza, just building and building and building, getting faster and faster until it was at the same tempo as the fifth movement soca. But yes, the cadenzas do not change, and I always perform it as written.
Interesting. We've had all different kinds of answers to that question from various composers that have been on the program. Before we go any further, I want to bring out our quiz. You mentioned, Stewart, you're a big fan of pianist composers, and certainly Sergei Rachmaninoff fits into that mold. So I have a quiz that's called Name the Rock, okay? So I'm going to ask you a question, and you tell me if it's either true of Sergei Rachmaninoff, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Oh, this is not where I thought it was going.
Okay, I like this. Okay.
Or the king of rock, or the king of rock and roll, who is Elvis Presley. Okay, so it's either about Rachmaninoff, Johnson, The Rock, or Elvis.
Okay.
And I might have like a question just focus on a particular character. All right, so here we go. Let me pull up a little music here.
So, actually, do we answer
or
do
right.
we wait?
Yeah, no, you should wait. So that way, you should write it down, right, as we go along, and then we'll check. Okay? Here we go. Let me pull up some music.
Oh, this is my favorite Elvis tune.
Yes, I picked it with you in mind. Okay, who is the tallest of those three? Which one is the tallest? Is it Dwayne Johnson, The Rock? Is it Sergei Rachmaninoff, or is it Elvis Presley?
We answer now, or are we?
No, we'll wait. We'll wait until after I run through these.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Who struggled with depression since they were a teenager? Was it Dwayne, Sergei, or Elvis? These are all A, B, or C questions. Which of the three was or is a published author? Dwayne, Sergei, or Elvis? So let's go back and check those first three before we move on, right? So,
okay,
because they're all either A, B, or C. They're all either Dwayne Johnson, Sergei Rachmaninoff, or Elvis Presley. The first one, who is the tallest of the group? How many people said A, Dwayne Johnson?
Oh, no.
No? Nobody said?
I actually said Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson. How many said B, Sergei Rachmaninoff?
I think I said Dwayne Johnson, too.
Okay.
So Rachmaninoff.
And then how many said Presley? Elvis Presley.
Did
No
you just call him
takers.
Presley?
Presley. The answer is Dwayne Johnson.
Good for you.
Yeah, he beat Rachmaninoff by an inch. He is 6'5".
Wow.
Rachmaninoff is so tall. That's amazing. Dwayne Johnson is 6'5".
We weren't
Yeah.
measuring handspan, people.
That's a good point. Yeah, if he put his hand on top of his head, I think he...
Yeah. Well,
Right.
Elvis Presley was only 5'10", but he always said he was 6 feet with his hair, right? So,
I make the same argument, by the way.
yeah, I don't have enough hair to make that argument, but okay.
Stewart, you want to chime in on that?
Oh, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. Okay. Who struggled with depression since and this is key, their teenage years? A, was it Dwayne Johnson? Who voted for Dwayne Johnson? Nobody here?
Oh, yeah, I'll vote for him. Poor
You're
guy.
changing now? You have to decide before, but okay, fine. How many voted for Sergei Rachmaninoff?
I think I voted for Sergei for this one.
Okay. No? No? How many voted for Elvis?
I voted for Elvis.
Wow, Elvis actually got some takers. Maybe in the later years, even. He was depressed. But Dwayne Johnson has been suffering with depression since he was 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And
Of course.
has done a lot of PSAs about it and has sought help, and definitely a little earlier than Rachmaninoff, he went to depression when he was in his 20s with the
With his first symphony.
First Symphony. Yeah, that's an interesting
Wow.
story.
That's really interesting.
Okay, so which of the three is a published author or was a published author? It can be Dwayne, Sergei, or Elvis. How many people said Dwayne? All the hands here went up. Did your hand go up, Stewart?
No, I think I lost this round.
Well, it actually was Dwayne Johnson. Yeah.
So all three answers were Dwayne.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't think of that. They
Yeah.
were all three answers were
That's
A.
amazing. I'm learning a lot about the Rock.
Yeah, totally. You'll be quizzed on this later.
Can we call this part of the quiz the Rock 3?
Yeah, Rock
Exactly.
3.
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson wrote an autobiography called The Rock Speaks. Of course, there are a lot of books about Rachmaninoff and Presley, but they didn't write their own.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have three questions that are about each individual. So we'll start with Sergei Rachmaninoff. Where is Sergei Rachmaninoff buried? And I've got multiple choice here. So your choices are New York, Beverly Hills, or St. Petersburg. So don't tell me now, just pick one.
Okay.
And we'll come back to it. Elvis had a twin who died at birth. What was his twin's name? Was it Jesse Aaron Presley? Was it Jesse Garon Presley? Or was it Jesse Farron Presley? A, B, or C? Aaron, Garon, or Farron? And the final question here is, what Guinness World Record did Dwayne Johnson set in 2015? Was it the most selfies taken in 3 minutes? Was it cycling backward with a violin? Or was it the heaviest weight supported by a human tongue? A, B, or C? Okay. Let's go back and
All
see
right.
how we did. Where is Sergei Rachmaninoff buried? How many people said New York? No hands in here went up. What about you,
No,
Stewart?
not me. No hand
No?
went up.
Okay, how many people said Beverly Hills?
I said Beverly Hills.
Okay, everybody said Beverly Hills, and everybody was... The answer is New York. He was buried in New York.
Seriously?
Yeah, in a place called Kensico Cemetery, which was sort of an afterthought. During World War II, they built a cemetery next to the railroad line so they could
wow.
quickly get bodies to it. And Rachmaninoff, because of the Second World War, could not go to his preferred burial ground, which was Switzerland. He wanted to be buried in Switzerland.
Interesting.
Wow.
He died in Beverly Hills, though, right?
He died in Beverly Hills in California and was shipped by train
And then he was shipped by train to New York.
to New York. Who else is buried there? Do you know? His wife and one of his daughters are also buried with him in New York. Not with him, but next. Yeah, this is not a who's buried in Grant's tomb kind of question. Yeah.
Oh.
So Elvis had a twin who died at birth. What was his name? How many people said Jesse Aaron Presley? No. How many people said Jesse Garon Presley?
I have no idea, but I voted for Garin.
Okay.
I'm with you.
So Zach and
I was
Stewart. Okay, well,
was
the
A.
answer is Jesse Garon.
Oh.
Garin? All right.
Hey, Stuart, great job on that.
Stuart and
I
Zach.
got 1.5.
Yeah, you all have to keep track of your scores. I didn't tell you that before, but I'm really
boy.
bad at
Okay.
math. Okay. And the Guinness record that Dwayne Johnson set in 2015, how many people voted for the most selfies in 3 minutes?
I got that.
I think that was
Yep.
me. I voted for that one too.
How many voted for cycling backwards while playing a violin?
I
Nobody?
can't picture The Rock doing that, but he might surprise me. I was wrong before about Dwayne.
The heaviest weight supported by a human tongue. Elaine proudly went
Very
for
proud
that.
on that one.
No, it was number one. It was the most selfies taken in 3 minutes, which was 105, evidently. I have a feeling like I could do more than 105 selfies in 3 minutes, right?
Sounds like
minutes
somebody
is
wants
all.
to break the record.
Yeah, I'll get the Guinness people in here.
They have to be unique poses.
You know,
a lot of coffee beforehand.
totally.
I'm ready.
Zach is ready. You know, the other two, the cycling backward while playing a violin and the heaviest weight on the tongue.
Those are both Yehudi Menuhin, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Especially the backwards with the violin. It's really impressive. But those are real world records that were set. The guy with the violin cycled 60 kilometers in 5 hours and 9 minutes.
Wow.
And he played Bach while he was cycling backwards. He played Bach on the violin.
No, I think he played it backwards.
Backwards.
That's right.
Excellent. And I pull up that for you, Zach. The heaviest weight supported by a human tongue was a gentleman who used his tongue to lift 27 pounds.
Whoa.
27 pounds. He trained 6 years to hold that amount for 5 seconds.
Wow.
His tongue was pierced by a hook that held 4 weights, and he set the record in 2004 without self-injury. So, by all accounts, a success. Right?
I think we need to deliver a content warning.
Yeah,
As part of
don't
the
try
show.
this at home.
Oh,
Yeah.
TikTok, where were you when
That's
we needed you?
right. I have so many questions that I both want and don't want to know about his training.
Yeah. Okay, there's the censor right there. We're good.
Right.
All right, I've got 2 more questions in this quiz. You want to do them now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Tell me if this fact is true of Rachmaninoff, Johnson, or Presley. Okay, which of the 3 rocks have appeared in Toledo, Ohio the most times? Was it Dwayne Johnson, Sergei Rachmaninoff, or Elvis Presley?
Oh man.
Oh.
I'm wondering if Elvis should get a chance. I
Yeah.
voted for Elvis. If I'm going to lose, I might lose a point. But I'll see how Elvis does.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Okay. It was not Elvis.
I was there with
Who
you.
was it?
It was, well, how many people chose Dwayne Johnson?
Oh. I
No
chose
answers.
Sergei.
How many people chose Sergei Rachmaninoff? Elaine, you're not, so you went with Elvis?
I went with Elvis.
Okay, so the answer is Sergei Rachmaninoff. Yeah, Elvis Presley came here twice. Once at the beginning of his career, he was at Centennial Hall at UT. And then once at the sports arena later in his career, just a few weeks before he died, and he evidently got into a scuffle. He hit a guy and knocked him out. Whatever, at the Commodore Perry Hotel.
Whoa.
And he was jealous of Elvis, that his wife was carrying a picture of Elvis around
Oh, boy.
and not her husband.
Okay.
Yeah. So he started the fight, but Elvis finished it.
That Elvis finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sergei Rachmaninoff played here 3 times as a solo pianist, so he beat Elvis by 1. It was 1921, 1923, and 1929.
Okay.
But, I mean, Dwayne Johnson may have, like, a secret residence in Toledo that we don't know about. I don't think that he's been to Toledo, but...
But I do think it's important to know that Stewart Goodyear has appeared in Toledo more than any of these people.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
Excellent.
true.
I am really, really
I guess this
love
would be a
that.
good time to say that my wife carries around a photograph of Stewart Goodyear.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, Stuart. if you see Zach coming at you awfully fast,
I know.
you
You
know,
heard it here.
I love it.
I've got one last question on our quiz, and this is called Match the Quote to the Rock. So I'm going to give you 3 quotes that were said by a specific person. You tell me who said it, right? It's one of the 3. The first quote is, "I've never gotten over what they call stage fright." The second quote is, "Music comes straight from the heart." And the third quote is, "With drive and a bit of talent, you can move mountains." So there are 3 different quotes. You tell me who said them. We'll go back in order. I've never gotten over what they call stage fright.
Elvis?
It was Elvis.
Good for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Stuart.
I was wrong.
Me too.
Yeah.
I said Rachmaninoff.
Me too.
The second one, music comes straight from the heart.
I think that's Sergei.
2 for 2.
Coming in strong.
Okay, see if you can get the last one. Okay? With drive and a bit of talent, you can move mountains.
sounds like Dwayne. That sounds like a Dwayne quote.
Yeah.
For you.
Totally.
Wait, I thought
Stuart cleaned up here.
I thought that was the person who had 27 pounds hanging from their tongue.
It's a small mountain, though.
27 pounds with. Oh yeah, that censor button is really going to come in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, we got a little bit of time left, and we should probably mention the other pieces that are on the
It's
program.
a dance program. I don't think I realized.
Yeah.
So on the rest of the program, we have more dances. So we have symphonic dances by Rachmaninoff. And this is actually his last big orchestral piece that he wrote in 1940. So that's very near the end of his life. And this is a wonderful piece. It's quite intricate, actually. It's there's this last part of his life where he was like really, composing less of like the broad melodies and more like really getting into the orchestration, the development of the music, as we can hear very much in the variations on the theme by Paganini, right? Which is a piece before that. Then he wrote that, like, something that's very interesting in that is there's a big alto saxophone part. So that's the orchestration is very intricate, very interesting. And it's, I know it's just a really, really great piece that will end our program. Yeah. And at the beginning of our program, we have the chairman dances. And it dances, it's not the dances, it's that the chairman dances. So
right.
it's the verb, right?
right.
So,
I get it. I see what you're
so it's the part in the opera. It's by John Adams. It's the part of the opera Nixon in China. And it's the part where Mao's wife starts dancing around and he comes out of a picture and he dances with her. Yeah. And they dance a foxtrot. So I thought, with the foxtrot, with Stewart's piece, and after that, with the symphonic dance, it would make a nice little corpus for the concert.
Yeah. So are people invited then to get up and dance during the music?
Oh, if you feel like it, absolutely.
Okay.
As in every concert, especially Mahler symphonies.
I will be there with my...
Thank you.
We said Mahler, so we had to hit the bell. I think that you've made it your mission now to work Mahler into every conversation.
No, that's actually my mission, but go on.
Yeah. Okay.
I will call it pure coincidence.
Pure coincidence. I'm going to resist playing the sad trombone, just so you know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Stuart, have you ever done anything with conducting? I mean, are you...
Only on TV. I was on
don't try this on TV, right?
a PBS special called Now Hear This, hosted by Scott Yu.
Yeah. And
this was something that actually was filmed just right before the pandemic. I was in San Luis Obispo, and I was wearing 3 hats, improvising, soloist for Mozart, and conducting.
Wow.
And just learning about that incredible craft that I had such huge respect for from the very beginning. I admire conductors and actually wanted to be a conductor when I was around 3 or 4 years old. I had a pencil that I was conducting the record player every time there was a symphony, working myself up a sweat. And
when I was 3 or 4, I wanted my toy tiger, but
yeah,
basically the same.
Sounds like you were an ambitious young child.
Well, I just loved, and I went to my first symphonic concert when I was around 6, and that was a Saturday tradition with my family, going to the Toronto Symphony and hearing different orchestral programs. And actually, the first time I heard the symphonic dances of Rachmaninoff was when I was around 4, and it was at a Toronto Symphony concert, and it just blew me away. Mm-hmm. Had to get the LP and just listen to it over and over again. I was just enthralled by the work.
Yeah, but were you dancing when you listened to it?
Was I dancing? I was not dancing.
No dancing.
No dancing.
All right. We'll save that for your piece on Saturday.
Stuart, I give you some huge respect for your frequent mentions of vinyl today, both the records that your father gave you, but also the records that you listened to and conducted with your pencil. So, are you still a vinyl guy?
I'm still a vinyl guy.
Good for you.
So once again, the concert is happening Saturday. It's January 14th, 8 o'clock p.m. at the Toledo Museum of Art Peristyle. Elaine Trudell conducting the Toledo Symphony with special guest pianist Stewart Goodyear performing his own music, a piece called Callaloo. We look forward to that. Also music of John Adams, the Chairman Dances, and the Symphonic Dances by Sergei Rachmaninoff. You can find more information at ToledoSymphony.com or call the box office at 419-246-8000. This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony. You can download episodes as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab. You can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts. Don't forget to check out all the upcoming events at the Symphony by visiting their website at toledosymphony.com and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find the TSO's streaming platform online. That's at stream.artstoledo.com. My thanks to Elaine Trudell, Zach Vassar, Merwin Sue, and our special guest, big thanks to you, Stewart Goodyear.
My pleasure.
I'm Brad Cresswell. This has been Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91.